A man was walking down the street, hood on and holding a bag tightly. Three men started mocking him for his size and shape, making fun of him. They blocked his path, snatched his bag, and continued their taunts. The man suddenly tore off his hoodie, revealing himself as Absorbing Man. He asked them if they had any idea who they were messing with. Pulling out his ball and chain, he absorbed some bricks from the street. He then began smashing the pavement, causing destruction all around. Meanwhile, a radio broadcast reported Absorbing Man's disturbance, then shifted to news about the disgraced City Hall photographer, Peter Parker. Annoyed, Peter quickly webbed up the radio to shut it off. Lying in bed, he thought about how he sacrificed his career to save Jonah's, and how he spent more time as Spider-Man to keep him from facing reality. As he poured noodles into boiling water, he reflected that while he had been broke before, he could usually sell his pictures to make some cash to pay for lunch. But now, blacklisted by every newspaper in New York, he had no way to make money. Just as he was about to say he needed to find a new job, he suddenly remembered he had a job interview in half an hour. Panicked, he quickly put on his Spider-Man suit, reminding himself that Betty had called in a favor to get him this opportunity, so he had to make it. Instead of showering, he took a fake bath by spraying deodorant all over himself. Frustrated, he realized he was down to his last 6 web cartridges. Not wanting to waste them, he decided to travel by jumping across buildings, hoping nothing would get in his way. Just then, the interviewer called, telling Peter he was stuck in traffic and needed to reschedule for next week. Peter asked if they could do it over the phone since he had already cleared the time. The interviewer mocked him for being busy, despite being unemployed, but agreed to proceed with the interview. The interviewer asked about Peter's business experience. With none to speak of, Peter hesitantly answered that he sold banned candy in high school. The interviewer asked if he was taking the interview seriously, but Peter was too stunned to respond because right in front of him was Absorbing Man. The interviewer, getting no reply, was about to hang up when Peter, now falling from a building after being struck by Absorbing Man, quickly apologized and blamed a bad connection. The interviewer continued, asking where Peter saw himself in 5 years. Dodging a collapsing building, Peter thought he would probably be dead, but answered that he was overcoming obstacles. Next, the interviewer asked about his skill set. While saving civilians from falling debris, Peter replied that he was a problem solver, resourceful, and quick on his feet. The interviewer was impressed, saying those were great qualities for a salesman. He then asked how Peter would handle an irate customer. As Peter prepared to catch an armored car thrown at him, he answered that he would deal with it patiently but head-on, with no passive-aggressive nonsense. The interviewer, pleased, asked Peter about his worst quality. Holding up the armored car, Peter sighed and said he guessed he cared too much. As he carefully placed the car down with one arm, he added that he was always juggling a ton of responsibility. Then, the interviewer suddenly said he just saw Spider-Man catch an armored car. Peter quickly asked where he was calling from. Turning around, he saw the interviewer standing behind him. The man told Peter he was looking right at him. Peter sighed in disappointment and hung up the call. Frustrated, the interviewer said he was moving on to the next candidate. Jumping onto a truck, Peter blamed Absorbing Man for costing him a much-needed job. Leaping into action, he shot a web at Absorbing Man, shouting that he also wasted $7.50 worth of web fluid. But Absorbing Man, having absorbed the web's properties, fell to the ground. His body temporarily turned into webbing. Just then, a beam shield appeared behind him. Peter turned to see Iron Man standing there. Tony thanked Peter for handling the situation, but told him he would take it from here. Peter, exasperated, asked where he had been 2 minutes ago, and if he could borrow some cab fare. Iron Man flew off with Absorbing Man, replying that he forgot his wallet. Peter shouted after him to find a better excuse, because he already used this one a couple of times. Looking at his torn-up suit, he groaned. His last good one was now in shreds. He had no choice but to head over to Betty, hoping she would forgive him for burning a bridge and maybe buy him lunch. As he walked away, he muttered to himself, wondering how he was supposed to get a steady and stable life if he was always going to be Spider-Man.